Hi everyone, this is Esther Tanez back with the Journey of an Entrepreneur. I am Esther Tanez, owner of Esther Inc. Insurance Agency, and we are going to talk about a little bit of what we were talking about last week. I had an interview with Anna Masker, which I want to say a good hello and thank you for last week's interview and helping us calculate our funding. How do we ask for money when we are doing our business plan, which we're done with that. But I thought that we should talk about some of the things some of the terms that were talked about that day. So, for example, she used the word operating or overhead expenses. And what does that mean when you're first starting a business? And it's very challenging when you first start, but I do have a master list that can help you. And if you email me or inbox me, please feel free. I will email you the list so that you can have an idea of how to list your expenses for your business. But before we get into that, I thought I'd share a story with you. Someone asked me, Esther, what was one of the mistakes you made when you first started? And as I shared with you, I have a lot. So I thought maybe something that happened to me that sometimes happens to people when they first start. I just want to say hello to everyone that's joining me, and I apologize if I don't keep saying hello to everyone, but please know that I am acknowledging you. So what was a mistake that I made? When I first started, I didn't know about computers. You know, when you first start, you have all these different hats, right? I was the receptionist. I was the filing clerk, because back then we had paper and we actually filed. I was the maintenance department, the repair department, and sometimes I would try to fix my computer, but computers were new back in 1999. And I just had moved to my first storefront location. It was the year 2000, and I had customers coming into the office, and we have, of course, old school file cabinets. And I wanted to have a file in the computer. And I didn't know that there was management programs and kind of a filing system that you can do in the computer. So I called someone that I used to work with, and I said, hey, how do you put all your information on the computer? And I want to be able to keep the client's files inside the computer. And I didn't know how to do it back then. So anyway, long story short, he referred someone who supposedly helped them. And instead of helping me, what he did was not so nice. He took all my clients, supposedly put it in the system, but instead of leaving me a file with all the clients' information, he took all my clients' information. And so these things happen when you first start. You think you want to do business with someone locally or someone that's not big because you're saving money or you don't have a lot of money to spend. And it wasn't good. My computers didn't work. I didn't have any data inside the system with my customers. So I actually had to go back to the filing, the old school filing system, which was very common back then. So I just want to let you know, these are the things that happens to you. I mean, I have a lot more stories, and as I go, I will share many of the issues that I had. And then I had to notify the clients that my information was taken, and it was, thank God that's an insurance policy for that. Otherwise, God knows what it would have cost me. So here we are, operation expenses or overhead. I mean, technically operations expensive is when you're manufacturing something and how much it costs to build that. But in the general business world, we use it as an overhead expenses. And so now you're calculating, well, how much do I need to ask for a loan, right? So what are the basics expenses? So things like your rent, and if you own the building, maybe your mortgage, or your property taxes, utility, phone, cable, internet. Those are the basics. And then you go on to, if you have a car that's under the company name, or tolls and parking, and then all the types of insurance policies that you need to calculate how much it costs. When you're asking for a loan, you need to make sure that you know how much to have. Now, very important that you know, when you're calculating your expenses, people ask me the question, as I used to teach with an organization called Rising Tide, which is a phenomenal company. If you want to start a business and you want to take classes on how to start a business, Rising Tide is amazing. They're up north in the Jersey City and Newark area. So what do we do when you're calculating to get this loan? How many months should you have up front? Now, I did say that it takes almost 2 years before you make profits, right? Before you make money and you're flowing, you have cash flow, and that's the difference between cash flow and profit. So what do you ask for? I mean, technically you should have 3 to 6 months up front. how much is your expenses? And you might say, yes, but you started with $10. How do you do it? Well, I started in my mom's basement, so I had no rent, and the phone was very little, and it was once a month, and my expenses were very, very small. My real big expenses was really the gasoline that I needed to go from my home to my office. I didn't have a lot of overhead, but when we first start, especially if you're a restaurant or a mechanic shop or a hair salon or a doctor's office, you don't have that kind of luxury to start with very minimal expenses. You have to calculate all those expenses. And again, I would be more than happy to share this list with you. It's kind of a master list, and that you can write it down and make sure that you know what expenses to expect and how much reserves you should have, because the first 2 years to try to get a loan is very difficult. So I thought this would be a great, nice, short thing to talk about what is operating expenses, as that was the term that was used. And next week we'll talk about, well, what's profit and what's cash flow? What's the difference between those two? And how do I know when I'm profitable, which is a big question that's asked all the time. So anyway, very short, very simple. My name is Esther Tanez, owner of Esther Insurance Agency. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube. Make sure if you're looking to build a business plan and you missed any of our videos, follow us on YouTube. They're all there. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing. I really, 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 really am grateful. And I hope to see you next week. Take care.